Success isn't given, it's earned. And earning it means becoming the person who deserves it. The bottom line is where we cut through the chaos to simplify success, uncovering the strategies, mindset, and resilience it takes to win. Real stories, expert insights, and practical tools. Because the only way to the top is by putting in the work. This is The Bottom Line. Welcome to The Bottom Line. I'm your host, Ryan Herpin, and today we're diving into a topic, a rather hot topic that affects everybody: money. Not just making it, but managing it, understanding it, and more importantly, changing the way we feel about it. It doesn't matter how successful you are, money stress doesn't just disappear when you earn more. Have you ever felt like no matter how much you bring in, you're still struggling? Have you ever wondered why so many intelligent, accomplished people still feel lost when it comes to their finances? You're not alone. Today, we'll be breaking down the myths about money, why smart people still struggle with it, and the hard truth about financial freedom. And to help us with that, I have a very special guest, Simi, a financial therapist and the founder and CEO of Prosper Financial Wellness. Welcome to the show. It is such a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you. I am so excited to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart: money.
And my goal today is to have an honest conversation about why money creates so much stress and anxiety, even for high achievers, and what we can do about it. So I want to dive right in and get right to the bottom line. Why do you think financial stress affects people at all income levels?
People think money is about numbers. It's one plus one equals two, when money is 90% emotional and only 10% logical. So the way we spend, earn, think about money, save it has all to do with our experiences, our culture, our thinking process, as opposed to like the numbers on a sheet. Highly intellectual people, those are great. They can be great analytical people, but money is not really bad analytics.
I think that's you brought up some like a really good point right off the hop. That was real wisdom. I wish I would have had a pen and pad for that. It is very emotional, and a lot of what causes that emotion is our background, the experiences we've had with money, our upbringing, culture. You really highlighted a few things there that make a big impact, and I can see that even in my own life. So, what role does mindset play in financial success?
Well, first of all, very often we're not even aware that we have this, what I call subconscious money script going on in our background.
Mhm.
And we look at the world and we are like, yeah, this is how money works. Like money is supposed to be saved, or money is supposed to be enjoyed, or there's this understanding about money that you have that you believe is a truth. So we're not even aware of this subconscious thing playing in our background called our money script, our money mindset. So first getting to realize, and usually it's like the first time you realize that is maybe you're in a new relationship and you don't maybe see eye to eye in the same way of spending money or working together. And you're like, hold on, they've got this all wrong. Like, let me show them how this is done. And then if you're able to be curious and listen, you're like, wow, that's interesting. Cool. So now we want to know what do we do with it? What do we do with these money mindsets? How do we work with ourselves?
I love that. That's you're asking such a good question there because and I can relate to this. When when my wife and I we first met and we first became serious, started dating, you know, I was very focused on, chivalry. I like to pay for everything, do everything. And as we grew in our relationship, it stopped being what's mine is mine, what's hers is hers. It began to we get married, we become one. How do we manage this together? How do we feel about managing, budgeting, and controlling our finances in a way that honors each other, our life, builds that future? And how do we keep the stress out of our financial management? So, what's one small but powerful shift someone can make today to improve their financial confidence?
A really good shift I like, and what I really appreciate about what you said before is coming together, collaborating. Not not necessarily are we talking about having to work on conflict resolution. We're talking about collaborating together to figure out a better future together. How do we do that without the practical applications and stresses of money? The first really good thing I love to say is your eye only goes to where it's focused on. If I'm focused on today, then the stresses of today get to me. What I love for people to do is create a long-term financial vision for yourself, almost like a vision board. Imagine I had the money that I could afford. What would I do with it? Like, this is a really good experiment, and start drawing it. Get colorful, get creative. And maybe if you're in a relationship, do this with your partner and then come back and like start being, wow, I never even knew you have a vegetable garden in there. What is that? Oh, I didn't even know you like to plant. What's that in the back? You have a studio? Why is it in our picture? Oh, you like giving classes? We're so involved in our day to day, we don't allow ourselves to dream. And so when my focus is on that future, studies show that they feel better. And you said it before, it's how I feel about my money that's important, not how much I have, how I feel about it that has the biggest impact in my life. Studies show you do that vision board, you're going to start feeling better. And you know what happens? You make these tiny goals and you start creating the reality to where, because now you know what you want.
Yeah, that was pure gold. That was pure gold, and you highlighted some of the things that I take as core values and the ways that I work with my clients even. And it's just like planning for the goals and success of your business. You can correlate that right to your relationships. It's just like a great analogy I like to use. Setting a goal, whether it be financial or business, whatever it may be, is just like planning a vacation. You plan the destination where you're going to go. You plan what you're going to do while you're there, and you don't just hop in the car and drive any direction. No, you map out how to get there. It's the same thing with a financial plan. And I love the way that you put that. When you take the time to do that with your partner, your significant other, you can start learning more about them, their dreams, their aspirations that might not just come up in everyday topics, but it's something that can build a relationship and take that stress out of it because you see that common goal, the common denominator, and the reason for striving for better finances. I love the way you put that. So, in this methodology, right, of let's say when you're planning this out with your spouse, your significant other, how can that prevent emotional conflicts?
Yeah. Well, first I want to go back. I love how you mentioned about that vacation, like it's planning a vacation. And that, even in the vacation component, sometimes it's so much more exciting to put on the refrigerator vacation, maybe destination. And then each time I want to save money or spend money, I say, hey, maybe I want to allocate that. Right now, I only know where I'm going. But if I want to go boating, that's about $100. Okay, I won't do this today, and I'm going to allocate that for my vacation. And you start creating a picture of the things you're going to do, not only to the destination you're going to go, the things you want to do, and excitement. And it all comes together in the same visual board towards that vacation. So I really appreciate the way you mentioned planning a vacation. And I took it a little step further, like really getting excited about it, putting little components and goals. Your question before was, how do we make this more? What was it? I'm
So
not
it's more about, so when you do have that plan and you're working with your spouse to discover that long-term vision, the goals along the way, how can you utilize that to prevent and avoid or even and help the conflicts that inevitably come with finances?
Well, first off, when you're seeing another person's picture, which may be vastly different than yours. And I remember having a couple where they were talking about retiring, and he had drawn a picture of travel, planes, exciting places. She had drawn a picture of moving near her children and staying local and being around them. Totally two different pictures, same relationship. What are you going to do? Right. And so part of the communication in relationships is learning how to talk to each other in a way that's not confrontational, more with
Mm.
curiosity. I'm curious about that picture. I see a lot of travel. Tell me why, or what is it about travel that excites you? And back and forth until we somehow get onto a same page of something that's mutual that we do together, or something that we understand that maybe when we're older you'll do a little more traveling and I'll be over here, but we'll be okay. So you sort of, once you have mutual respect to each other and you're curious, not judgmental, the other person feels that, and you somehow become softer, so the emotions that come are able to be a little bit less aggressive or stressful. They're a little tamer. Does it make sense?
That makes complete sense. I like the way that you framed it. It highlights a few things for me that I can even recall in personal life or when I'm helping when I'm mentoring people, and inevitably we always end up in the conversation of relationships and whatnot. And it's kind of similar to how I've seen things, but I love the depth you bring to it because there's so much more to it than the surface you can really see, right? There's also that genuine interest and curiosity you can have in your partner. And one thing I know is finances end up being one of the biggest points of conflict and stress and struggle in a relationship. So when you're finding a way to communicate it, to look at it, and to remove the stress and anxiety from it, you've now taken away the power of the fear factor with the finances. And I like the way you frame it because it gives hope. It gives excitement to a topic that a lot of people avoid. I feel a lot of couples like to avoid that conversation, that topic, because it's going to bring stress and conflict. Have you seen a consistency of working with people where it goes from being a fear, like something they want to avoid, maybe it's taboo or a little squeamish, and turns into something exciting?
It's interesting when we talk about these emotional triggers. We know that money triggers are often a lot more intense than other triggers because they bring up an emotion that we're not even familiar with. And they have history behind it. And so in relationships, when I start getting curious even about myself, why do I get so triggered when my husband picks up pre-washed grapes and I think it's the most ridiculous thing to spend money on? But he seems to think that's great. He thinks my manicures are ridiculous. I think that's brilliant, right? So we have these different ways of understanding money and how we're using them. But if I start seeing how ridiculous, how my money mindset's playing into my relationship, I could stop taking myself so seriously. So it's almost like I'm like, oh, he wants his shoe shined in the airport. I don't know if they do it anymore, but he loves that. And I'm like, oh, right, this is his manicure. Okay. Oh, I see myself getting uptight. Cool.
Yep.
Cool. Wow. So now I stopped taking myself so a lot less seriously. And I'm like, that's my money mindset talking. That's
I,
that.
I, I
that-
I love this conversation. I've got to jump in right there. We can't give away all the gold and all the wisdom right away. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back on the bottom line to talk more about the in depth relationship and financial aspects.